Well, hello there. Had to take off my Clark Kent glasses so you guys recognize me. Well, greetings. You caught me on my way to church, so which also means we're definitely gonna go. We're gonna cover this material pretty quickly today, and there's a lot of it. This is a long chapter, but it's neat. There's a lot of good stories in here. So the question that we are asking ourselves today is, how are we doing? Are we past feeling? Will we hear the promptings of the Lord when they come? And so, if there is the Sermon on the Mount, right? We know that one, and there is in the Book of Mormon, the Savior, in the middle of the Book of Mormon, the last third maybe, the Savior appears to the people of the Americas, and he preaches to them, and they call that the Sermon at the Temple. So if there's the Sermon on the Mount and the Sermon on the Temple, I call this chapter the Argument on the Beach. And you'll see why in just a minute. So just to review, in the past chapters, there was a number of chapters there where Nephi was sharing with us his vision of the Tree of Life and prophecies of the future. And in the previous chapter, the family headed south. And they had challenges along the way. Ishmael dies, and the brothers complain that the truth is a hard thing, almost more than they can bear, they said. So going to do more reading today because this is more kind of dialogue. And it came to pass that we did again take our journey in the wilderness, and we did travel nearly eastward from that time forth. And we did travel and wade through much affliction in the wilderness, and our women did bear children in the wilderness. And so great were the blessings of the Lord upon us, that while we did live upon raw meat in the wilderness, we'll come back to that in a minute, our women did give plenty of suck for their children, and were strong, yea, even like unto the men. And they began to bear their journeyings without murmurings. There we go. I liked this picture because it's actually showing them traveling in the dark. And we are expecting that that's how they did most of their traveling, because it's 1,000 degrees during the daytime. And we did come to the land which we called Bountiful, because of its much fruit, and also wild honey. And all these things were prepared of the Lord, that we might not perish. And we beheld the sea, which we called Iriantum, which, being interpreted, is many waters. And it came to pass, we did pitch our tents by the seashore, and notwithstanding we had suffered many afflictions and much difficulty, yea, even so much that we cannot write them all, we were exceedingly rejoiced when we came to the seashore, and we called the place Bountiful, because of its much fruit. Now, it's interesting, this photo here is it is a place that they believe may well be exactly where they're talking about, where Lehi and his family arrived. It's right there on the shore. There's one other spot that is fairly near to it that is also a possibility. And it's the craziest thing because, there's the Arabian Peninsula and the desert and all that dry, barren stuff. And then, bink, just right here, because of some little interaction between the water of the sea and the moisture and the weather patterns and the shapes of the land at that point, it brings this moisture up here, and it has become this beautiful area. So these cliffs that you see here in this picture are all filled with hives of bees, and it's interesting. There's even in these areas they've found ore, like metal ore, it's lined throughout the rocks. They said you don't even have to mine it. You can just go pick it up, and it's there to use, and fruit trees and all sorts of things. So it's an exact match, both in terms of the location based on where they tell us, I traveled south, southeast, whatever, and all that, and also the description of it. So it's really neat to be able to see those pictures and to imagine, wow, what a contrast and what a blessing it must have been at the end of such a long journey. Although, as we're going to discover here, they're not done yet. And it came to pass that after I, Nephi, had been in the land of Bountiful for the space of many days, the voice of the Lord came unto me, saying, Arise, and get thee into the mountain. And it came to pass that I arose and went up into the mountain, and cried unto the Lord. And it came to pass that the Lord spake unto me, saying, Thou shalt construct a ship after the manner which I shall show thee, that I may carry thy people across the waters, these waters. So again, this is a picture from that bountiful area, and it may well be that this is the mountain that they're describing here. It must have been interesting, though, and tempting for the people to think, wow, this is beautiful here. Let's stay. Although, as we'll come to see, that as big as it was, it's nothing compared to the amount of space that they would ultimately consume as their family grows into civilizations. And I said, Lord, whither shall I go that I may find ore to molten, that I may make tools to construct the ship after the manner which thou hast shown me? So let me go back one. So he had just been told, thou shalt construct a ship after the manner which I shall show thee. And so we must assume that in between verses 8 and verse 9, the Lord showed him. Because now he's saying, oh, okay, so now we need tools. Although think about that as a response. His response wasn't, who, me, Lord? Or, I don't know anything about this. It was just simply, well, then let's get started. We're going to need some tools. So, there's some things I know and some things I don't know. So help me with the things I don't know, and we'll make this happen. It doesn't appear that there was ever any question about his ability, along with the Lord, to get it done, or that he was going to, go get it done. And it came to pass that the Lord told me whither I should go to find ore, that I might make tools. And it came to pass that I, Nephi, did make a bellows wherewith to blow the fire, of the skins of beasts. And after I had made a bellows, that I might have wherewith to blow the fire, I did smite 2 stones together, that I might make fire. Okay, watch what comes next. For the Lord had not hitherto suffered that we should make much fire, as we journeyed in the wilderness. For he said, I will make thy food become sweet, that ye cook it not. And I will also be your light in the wilderness, and I will prepare the way before you, if it so be that ye shall keep my commandments. Wherefore, inasmuch as ye shall keep my commandments, ye shall be led toward the promised land, and ye shall know that it is by me that ye are led. Now, we don't have any details of what he means by him being, the Lord being a light in the wilderness. We're not told that in the scriptures that we have. And yet, if you remember that they traveled, we assume, largely by night, then having a light in the wilderness would, of course, be important, especially on the nights if there was any cloud cover or when the moon is not out, that sort of thing, because it would be dark. There's not a lot of street lights or streets or lights. So anyways, but very interesting. And, it might seem like, what? But then if you think about Moses and the children of Israel, there were things that the Lord set up, experiences that they would have that were primarily, as is described, for the purpose of making sure that they absolutely know they didn't get through this because they were clever and hardworking, although they were both. They got through this because the Lord blessed them. And it was important for them to come through this experience with an absolute knowledge that if it weren't for the Lord, we would not have gotten through this. And so this is we'll see that the Lord, he repeats themes over time. In fact, we're going to keep seeing that over and over again, so stay tuned. Yea, and the Lord said also that after ye have arrived in the promised land, ye shall know that I, the Lord, am God, and that I, the Lord, did deliver you from destruction. Yea, that I did bring you out of the land of Jerusalem. That sounds like what I just said. Boy, one of us is clever. Either that or I was forgetting that it was just about to come up. Wherefore, I, Nephi, did strive to keep the commandments of the Lord, and I did exhort my brethren to faithfulness and diligence. And it came to pass that I did make tools out of the ore which I did molten out of the rock. Crazy, right? I've heard it proposed that maybe Lehi's business or the family business may have in some way or other, directly or indirectly, given them some experience already in these areas. All these practical skills. He's making bows. He's making tools after he moltens ore and all these things. So, but we don't know. He sure is. He figured it out. Okay. And when my brethren saw that I was about to build a ship, they began to murmur against me, saying, Our brother is a fool, for he thinketh that he can build a ship. Yea, and he also thinketh that he can cross these great waters. And thus my brethren did complain against me, and were desirous that they might not labor, for they did not believe that I could build a ship, neither would they believe that I was instructed of the Lord. This is an interesting pattern to watch out for in life. There will be times when we're going to feel, maybe through a prompting or just something that we feel is a right thing to do, or something that we should do or want to do, that is a good thing, but maybe it's an audaciously large thing. And there will be people who will question our ability to do it. And they'll do it in a way that it's as though they are trying to talk us out of doing it. And when, keep an eye out for those folks who are influencing that way. They may be people you love, but be ready to say, leave me alone. I'm doing the thing. I'm doing the right thing here. And, thanks for your lack of support. But you just got to do it anyways. Let's see here. Okay. And now it came to pass that I, Nephi, was exceedingly sorrowful because of the hardness of their hearts. And now when they saw that I began to be sorrowful, they were glad in their hearts, insomuch that they did rejoice over me, saying, We knew that ye could not construct a ship, for we knew that ye were lacking in judgment, wherefore thou canst not accomplish so great a work. It's kind of interesting if you think about these poor people, right? Have you've been on a family trip, right? Family vacation, everybody hops in the car and you drive and you're maybe gone a week and you're ready to kill each other by the end of that week. Well, these guys have been on an at least 8-year family vacation, just them. And as you probably have guessed, at the end of this nearly after nearly 8 plus years of this family vacation, they're about to all get on a little tiny boat and spend another nearly year crossing the ocean. So the fact that any of them survived, and in fact that they all survived, is amazing. Okay. And thou art, they continue in their lack of support. And thou art like unto our father, led away by the foolish imaginations of his heart. Yea, he hath led us out of the land of Jerusalem, and we have wandered in the wilderness for these many years, and our women have toiled, being big with child, and they have borne children in the wilderness, and suffered all things, save it were death, and it would have been better that they had died before they came out of Jerusalem than to have suffered these afflictions. How lovely. Do these people listen to what they say? Our children would have been better if they had died? That's horrible. Behold, these many years we have suffered in the wilderness, which time we might have enjoyed our possessions and the land of our inheritance. Yea, and we might have been happy. Yeah, so you tell me, do possessions alone bring happiness? Especially when you have crappy attitudes like they have. And they continue. It's funny. There's so many verses. They thank you for sharing all this. I guess maybe the reason why Nephi shares all this long argument is perhaps to help us to recognize these arguments, because the arguments, I think, don't change all that much from year to year or from millennium to millennium. And we know that the people who were in the land of Jerusalem were a righteous people, for they kept the statutes and judgments of the Lord and all his commandments according to the law of Moses. Wherefore we know that they are a righteous people, and our Father hath judged them, and hath led us away, because we would hearken unto his words. Yea, and our brother is like unto him. And after this manner of language did my brethren murmur and complain against us. Yeah, so that's rough. And it came to pass that I, Nephi, spake unto them, saying, Do ye believe that our fathers, who were the children of Israel, would have been led away out of the hands of the Egyptians, if they had not hearkened unto the words of the Lord? Do ye suppose that they would have been led out of bondage if the Lord had not commanded Moses that he should lead them out of bondage? Excuse me. So isn't that interesting? It's always fascinating to me that they accept the truth and reality of the things that Moses and the children of Israel did, and it's just a given for them, right? And, I'm glad that that's the case. Although today we question everything, don't we? At least the world does. Anyways, and so what a direct comparison, right? Now ye know that the children of Israel were in bondage, and ye know that they were laden with tasks, which were grievous to be borne. Wherefore ye know that it must needs be a good thing for them that they should be brought out of bondage. Now ye know that Moses was commanded of the Lord to do that great work, and ye know that by his word the waters of the Red Sea were divided hither and thither, and they passed through on dry ground. See, here again, he cites these things as just completely a given. There's no question about the reality of them. And again, what a great comparison. This is it. This picture on the left here is the Red Sea. And you can see it's a sea. It's not a little thing that they pass through. And there's interesting discussion about where exactly that might have been that they passed through. I'll read and then I'll describe. But ye know that the Egyptians were drowned in the Red Sea, who were the armies of Pharaoh. And ye also know that they were fed with manna in the wilderness. Yea, and ye also know that Moses, by his word, according to the power of God which was in him, smote the rock, and there came forth water, that the children of Israel might quench their thirst. So here again, all these things that are just a given, and evidence that the Lord is guiding them and providing the necessary miracles to ensure that where they can't get it done, that it will, that they will be taken care of. Okay, so in case you haven't already read, these two pictures here on the left, fascinating. The one underwater there, that is at the bottom of the Red Sea, right in the path, one of the suspected paths that the children of Israel would have crossed as they did the whole part the Red Sea thing. And that, ladies and gentlemen, as far as anyone can tell, they obviously haven't disturbed it, but analyzing it with metal detectors and whatnot, those are the wheels of a chariot that are found, and there's others like it. Objects down at the bottom of the Red Sea that are, today they're coral encrusted, and so you can't plainly see what's inside there, but they're perfectly round, or in this case, you can see it's like it's sitting on its side. So fascinating evidence is there. Now, clearly, we don't know. It could be from other things, but it certainly gives you something to think about as far as what might have been left behind as the waters closed in on the Egyptians, the armies of Pharaoh. This next picture down here, it is a proposed site for the split rock of Horeb. This is what was being described in verse 29 here, where he smote the rock and there came forth water. And so anyways, this split rock of Horeb, it is interesting, and it certainly looks like a split rock. And there are other things around it, the appearance of erosion from water that would have come from right there and whatnot. It's fascinating, and it doesn't matter whether it's right or wrong. But it's kind of neat to look at. I tell you though, all of this, everybody should do what I'm doing right now. Study it and teach somebody, because what you learn is just it's really neat. And this is awesome. And there's just not time to share everything that is out there. Okay. And notwithstanding they being led, children of Israel he's talking about, the Lord their God, their Redeemer, going before them, leading them by day and giving light unto them by night, and doing all things for them which were expedient for man to receive, they hardened their hearts and blinded their minds and reviled against Moses and against the true and living God. Does that sound familiar? Even the giving light unto them by night, right? All this is so, it's such a pattern for Lehi's family. 31, and it came to pass that according to his word he did destroy them, and according to his word he did lead them, and according to his word he did do all things for them, and there was not anything done save it were by his word. So this picture on the left, it's hard to see. There are a few, and in this picture is, it's kind of back, but like here's one that you can see, and there are other pictures of other spots here where there are basically gravestones that are standing upright. This is in Saudi Arabia, and this is one of the proposed locations right near where Mount Sinai was, and it looks like a mass gravesite. We read in the Old Testament that when Moses was up in the mountain receiving the Ten Commandments, when he came down, he found that the people had molten idols, golden calves, and that they were worshiping these false gods. And in his anger, the Lord, there were 3,000 of them who were put to death at that time. And so, when we read in verse 31, it came to pass according to his word, he did destroy them. According to his word, he did lead them. And so, when the children, when the blessed children are being wicked, then the Lord will destroy. And interesting that they've found this grave and it's in the right place and it's the right size and all. Anyways, interesting stuff. And after they had crossed the river Jordan, so now he's still talking about the children of Israel. And after they had crossed the river Jordan, he did make them mighty unto the driving out of the children of the land, yea, unto the scattering them to destruction. And now do ye suppose that the children of this land, meaning the land of Canaan, who were in the land of promise, who were driven out by our fathers, do ye suppose that they were righteous? Behold, I say unto you, nay. So this picture here is a picture of the River Jordan, not the section where they believe that they crossed, but it is Jordan in the springtime, which is the same time that they did cross. And so in the Old Testament, we read that the Lord blocked the River Jordan so that they could cross. And so you can see that's not a small stream. It's quite a bit of water there. Do ye suppose that our fathers would have been more choice than they, if they had been righteous? I say unto you, nay. Behold, the Lord esteemeth all flesh in one. He that is righteous is favored of God. But behold, this people had rejected every word of God, and they were ripe in iniquity, and the fullness of the wrath of God was upon them. And the Lord did curse the land against them, and bless it unto our fathers. Yea, he did curse it against them unto their destruction, and he did bless it unto our fathers unto their obtaining power over it. So, within the red here, this is the area that they were given. And you can see that was quite a population of people. And here the Lord is explaining, if there's a land of promise and there's a people that have become wicked, they're going to be replaced by the ones that are more righteous. And it doesn't mean either of those groups were perfect. It just means the Lord will remove the wicked and replace them with the righteous, at least in certain places, certain special places. Behold, the Lord hath created the earth that it should be inhabited, and he hath created his children that they should possess it. And he raiseth up a righteous nation, and destroyeth the nations of the wicked. And he leadeth away the righteous into precious lands, and the wicked he destroyeth, and curseth the land unto them for their sakes. He ruleth high in the heavens, for it is his throne, and this earth is his footstool. I searched everywhere for a better picture than this, sorry, and I'm not saying that any of these nations are righteous or wicked, but it just shows that nations come and nations go, right? And it's interesting to see this description, that explains at a high level that the Lord will replace nations with nations, at least in his promised lands. Even in the Book of Mormon, it's interesting because we'll read later about the Jaredite people who were there. They came and grew and became wicked and were destroyed 1,000 years before the Nephites even arrived there. And yet in there's comments that say that they weren't even the first ones there, that there was a nation that came even before them that we have no record of. So it's just kind of a cycle. Okay, we continue. Ooh, and I got to finish this. All right, I'm going to be late for church. And he loveth those who will have him to be their God. Behold, he loved our fathers, and he covenanted with them, yea, even Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And he remembered the covenants which he had made, wherefore he did bring them out of the land of Egypt. And he did straighten them. Remember, see how that's spelled differently. It means through difficulty, right? And he did straighten them in the wilderness with his rod, for they hardened their hearts, even as ye have. And the Lord straightened them because of their iniquity. He sent fiery flying serpents among them, and after they were bitten, he prepared a way that they might be healed. And the labor which they had to perform was to look. And because of the simpleness of the way, or the easiness of it, there were many who perished. And they did harden their hearts from time to time, and they did revile against Moses, and also against God. Nevertheless, ye know that they were led forth by his matchless power into the land of promise. And now, after all these things, The time has come that they have become wicked, yea, nearly unto ripeness. And I know not, but they are this day about to be destroyed. For I know that the day must surely come, that they must be destroyed, save a few only, who shall be led away into captivity. So this picture here is an excavation site on Jerusalem's Mount Zion, where they are uncovering objects, artifacts that were from the Babylonian captivity of Jerusalem. So it's interesting, and it's exactly what they would expect to find, and the right dates and everything. And yet, at the time that this is written, Nephi, they didn't know. It hadn't occurred yet, and they were gone now, so they weren't sure. Wherefore the Lord commanded my father that he should depart into the wilderness. And the Jews also sought to take away his life. Yea, and ye also have sought to take away his life. Wherefore ye are murderers in your hearts, and ye are like unto them. Ye are swift to do iniquity, but slow to remember the Lord your God. Ye have seen an angel, and he spake unto you. Yea, ye have heard his voice from time to time. And he hath spoken unto you in a still small voice, but ye were past feeling, that ye could not feel his words. Wherefore he hath spoken unto you like unto the voice of thunder, which did cause the earth to shake as if it were to divide asunder. And ye also know that by the power of his almighty word he can cause the earth that it shall pass away. Yea, and ye know that by his word he can cause the rough places to be made smooth, and smooth places shall be broken up. O then why is it that ye can be so hard in your hearts? Behold, my soul is rent with anguish because of you, and my heart is pained. I fear lest ye shall be cast off forever. Behold, I am full of the Spirit of God, insomuch that my frame has no strength. It's interesting that he used the word rent. My soul is rent. I just ran over to the dictionary here. Rend, to separate into parts with force or violence, to tear apart, split, or divide. So he is just really in agony over his brothers, who he loves, and who are just constantly, to say that they're being a disappointment is inadequate. And now it came to pass that when I had spoken these words, they were angry with me, and were desirous to throw me into the depths of the sea. And as they came forth to lay their hands upon me, I spake unto them, saying, In the name of the Almighty God, I command you that ye touch me not, for I am filled with the power of God, even unto the consuming of my flesh. And whoso shall lay his hands upon me shall wither even as a dried reed, and he shall be as naught before the power of God, for God shall smite him. It's interesting that there are times, even among unbelievers, that prophets have been, they have had a presence that have cut through the disbelief and have caught the attention of the disbelievers who were threatening them. And it came to pass that I, Nephi, said unto them that they should murmur no more against their father, neither should they withhold their labor from me, for God had commanded me that I should build a ship. And I said unto them, If God had commanded me to do all things, I could do them. If he should command me that I should say unto this water, Be thou earth, it should be done. And if I should say it, it would be done. And now if the Lord has such great power and has wrought so many miracles amongst the children of men, how is it that he cannot instruct me that I should build a ship? And it came to pass that I, Nephi, said many things unto my brethren, insomuch that they were confounded, and could not contend against me. Neither durst they lay their hands upon me, nor touch me with their fingers, even for the space of many days. Now they durst not do this, lest they should wither before me. So powerful was the Spirit of God, and thus it had wrought upon them. And it came to pass that the Lord said unto me, Stretch forth thine hand again unto thy brethren, and they shall not wither before thee, but I will shock them, saith the Lord. And this will I do, that they may know that I am the Lord their God. And it came to pass that I stretched forth my hand unto my brethren, and they did not wither before me, but the Lord did shake them, even according to the word which he had spoken. And now they said, We know of a surety that the Lord is with thee, for we know that it is the power of the Lord that has shaken us. And they fell down before me, and were about to worship me, but I would not suffer them, saying, I am thy brother, yea, even thy younger brother. Wherefore, worship the Lord thy God, and honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long in the land which the Lord thy God shall give thee. Isn't that neat? So, they're just all those experiences and everything, and all the grief, and he finally gets their attention and gets them humble again, and, they want to worship him, and he says, no. And he brings them back to the basics, the Ten Commandments, honor thy father and thy mother. Isn't it interesting that that's the instruction that he gives them? And that's probably the area where if they would just do that thing, then that would get them on the path to where everything else would fall into place. So, gotta go. Question just to finish up: is the truth hard for us to bear? Do we get so caught up in today's challenges, of which there are plenty, right? We have plenty of challenges. They're all around us. But do we get so caught up in those that we become past feeling, right? The same experiences can happen to people with or without the Spirit. And what they do with those are make all the difference in the world. We can become bitter and hardened and closed and past feeling, or we can look at it and see that the Lord is straightening us and is trying to bless us and get us into a place where we'll be ready for his blessings and we can grow from the challenges. So remember, and if we find ourselves in that bad place, then remember what Nephi did. Get back to basics. Honor your father and your mother and get the other 9 of the 10 commandments, and then just kind of go from there and get that spirit back. The Lord is not hiding from us. He will be there if we'll seek him. Okay, so looking ahead, next chapter will be 1 Nephi chapter 18. They finish the ship and they sail to the promised land. And of course, as you know, not without challenges. It's always an adventure, isn't it? So that's it for today. I'll see you guys soon.